So, how many of these have we still got to go at this point? Welcome to my review for Puppetmaster 5, or as I believe it was called in some countries, Puppetmaster 5, the final chapter. Nothing is guaranteed to keep your franchise going more than calling it something something the final chapter. It's just one of the unwritten laws of horror franchises. If I was going to release the first film in any new franchise, I would probably like to call my film blah blah the first and final chapter. It would sort of guarantee box office success and prosperity. This film is sort of a follow-on to Puppetmaster 4, which might sound like an odd thing to say, but these two films at this point of the franchise, 4 and 5, are very much connected. They're sort of like one long continuous story. They belong together, a bit like Halloween 4 and 5. In the case of Puppetmaster 4 and 5, they were filmed back to back, same director, same pooled budget. My big worry is that they would put more of the budget into part 4, say like 65-70% of it, just to get you hooked in order to keep going when it comes to part 5. And then, of course, they'll hit you with the much cheaper one. And that's sort of what's happened here, because I didn't enjoy part 5 anywhere near as much as part 4. There's not a lot in number 5 which is particularly of inspiration, it's got to be said. But first, a very, very quick plot synopsis. Now, I'm not going to babysit you through all the films so far and in terms of what's happened. I'm going to take it that you are up to speed with these. So in part 5, we're still in danger from this evil god, Tenak. He's lost all of his totems in part 4, so now he's going to have to come down to Earth himself for one big final battle against Rick and the puppets. And that's basically the plot. Tenak's attempts to come down and do it all himself. And I guess there's sort of a subplot as well about some English guy in a suit who wants to grab Toulon's formula, but honestly it's all very thin. There's not a lot here. The movie's only about 79 minutes, I'd say, and just everything about this film is basically part 4 but just a little bit worse, which didn't make it the best viewing experience. If we start with the main character, Rick, one of the best things about number 4, he had a really happy-go-lucky personality. I loved the stuff he did with like the laser quest thing when he was playing with the puppets, but he doesn't get any little bits of great writing in this one. It's still Rick, but there's just not anything new for the character here, and he's strangely absent for large periods of the first half of this as well, which is not ideal. His girlfriend as a character goes nowhere in this one as well. She wasn't one of the best things about part 4, it's got to be said. And in this one, she looks a little bit more glamorous than she did in number 4, but her character, she's just a smiling avatar. She's like a very thinly written horror character from like a 1980s Nightmare on Elm Street film or something. So, I mean, this is a 2.5-hour horror film split into 2 movies, really, Puppetmaster 4 and 5. And when you get a character in a film with as much runtime as that, and you do nothing with her, it's not exactly great. Then we come to Teresa Hill's character, the psychic, who I quite liked in the previous film, albeit her character was a little bit inconsistent, but in this one she hardly gets any scenes, and I can't even remember if she dies at the end of this, which is really bad. Then we come to Tenak, the main villain. Again, someone who I really liked in the 4th film. I liked his puppet, I liked his throne room, I liked his little relationship with the disciples. Here, because all of his disciples are dead, he's got no one to talk to but himself, but he's sort of got to explain to the audience what he's doing. So he sort of stood there in his throne room just kind of talking to nobody. It's a little bit weird and off, and plus I can't even understand his voice very well. He speaks like Bane in The Dark Knight Rises in this one. So he goes to Earth, but he can't just go himself as he is. That would have been quite creepy because he's quite a large puppet. If I picture him stalking the halls of the Boyega Hotel, that could have been some good horror actually, but no, we can't have that puppet apparently for any more than the throne room scene. Maybe it was just too hard to film, so Tenak goes into one of his little totem dolls. Now the problem with this is the fact that in the previous film we had 3 totems. In this we've only got 1, albeit apparently this totem is a little bit tougher to kill, but it still feels ultimately like 1 totem. It's a bit like the situation where in Alien vs Predator there were 3 predators, then we got to the sequel and there's just 1 predator this time. A little bit uninspiring once we've had 3 in the previous film. So To be honest, this film got off to a bad start with me long before Tenak came into the frame because, like I said earlier, it's only a 79-minute film, but we get this really long credit sequence at the start where every name under the sun comes on. When I start watching a film, all I want to see at the beginning in terms of names is maybe who directed it and who the actors are. I don't want to see who the key grip is and the fashion designer and who the T-boy is. Leave all those names for the end, but at the start of Puppetmaster 4, just to pad the running time out, Charles Band insists on throwing every last name at us who had anything to do with this film. You might as well put all the patrons of the movie on there as well. Now, a lot of films, if they have to show all these names, they will at least try and give you some visuals in and around the names to sort of keep your brain awake. I've got Halloween on the brain today, so I'll give an example of that film, albeit it's probably not the best example because in Halloween you usually just see a pumpkin, but it's something, you can focus on that and the camera sort of gets closer to the pumpkin, and most Halloween fans really like the effect of the pumpkin against the black background. There's something there for you to watch, but at the start of Puppetmaster 4, it's literally just a black screen with the names coming one after the other for like 5 continuous minutes, and you might as well just fast forward the thing or go to the toilet or something like that. Once we get into the film, you get a very short scene in the police station, and then we get another 5 wasted minutes where we have a recap, like a montage of scenes from Puppetmaster 4. It's like, no, I don't want to see this. You're just padding it out. So this film swiftly goes from what started out as a 79-minute movie, and I reckon by the time this actually starts, we're down to already maybe 69 minutes of material. The only fresh bit of material in this film is when the English guy hires 3 goons to break into the Boyega Hotel and steal Toulon's formula, steal some of the puppets. But these 3 guys, they just look so disconnected from each other. I don't feel as if they could possibly have known each other before this job, and yet I think we're meant to believe that they're a gang who've worked together before. If you compare them to, say, the 3 hoodlums who turn up at the start of Friday the 13th Part 3, okay, they were douches, those guys. The 3 characters in black who terrorise Shelley and then they end up getting killed in the barn. It's easy to believe that those guys are friends. They've been together a long time. They are a proper little motorcycle gang, but these 3 goons in Puppetmaster 5, when they line up just before they're about to break into the Boyega, I just think it's not remotely believable that these 3 would have known each other. They're all wearing completely different clothes. They look like 3 dancers from a YMCA video or something. I think it would have been much more believable if the English guy had just hired 3 randoms, brought them together and said, look, we're going to be working under aliases on this job. We're not using our real names. You're Mr. Pink, you're Mr. Blonde, etc., etc. Another stupid thing is the fact that once the English guy set this plan in motion and he's got these 3 random goons breaking in, he then tags along. I was under the impression that he wouldn't be tagging along. The reason he was hiring these 3 is because he wanted to protect himself. He wanted to stay out of the way in case these guys got caught. But no, he goes along as well in his posh English suit. These 4 characters are such strange bedfellows working together on this job. They just end up being cannon fodder. And the English guy, or the exception of the English guy, because he survived an annoyingly long amount of time. The only thing that I liked in this film is the reappearance of Decapitron. I said it in my Puppetmaster 4 review. I'm looking forward to seeing if he gets any additional helmets, and he does get a new helmet in this film, albeit it's not an attack helmet this time. He puts this thing on which enables him to use X-ray vision to see where the totem is in the building, which is sort of cool. But the design of it is absolutely hilarious. It's shaped like a rocket ship, but with pink sunglasses. I absolutely loved it, but it is the one standout moment of brilliance in Puppetmaster 5, sadly, because the end of the film, when Decapitron takes out the totem, it just feels just too similar to Part 4. And the way that the puppets fight Tenak at the end, it's like a turn-based RPG. You've got like a puppet will take a hit at him and then time will seem to stop while Tenak does something back to someone, and then one of the good puppets will get a hit in. There's no kind of people making their moves at the same time because they've had difficulty filming it. They've had to make it really turn-based, and it just feels really off. It really does. You know what? I've actually saved the weirdest part of the review for last because I've got to quickly touch upon the character of Torch, who was not in Puppetmaster 4, and I believe I did mention that in my review, but he randomly turns up in this film, and it's kind of made out like he was there in the hotel all the way through 4 and 5, but we just didn't see him in number 4. So why would he have not got involved in the plot of number 4 when all the shit was going down? It's a bit odd. I mean, Rick literally addresses him in this as if he's known him as long as all the other puppets. But of course, this being a really low-budget film, we can't properly have Torch used because they just couldn't afford to do proper pyrotechnics. I mean, Torch fires his little flamethrower thing like once, I think, in this film, and it's just crappy little 90s CGI, and he misses his intended target because we can't have any humans on fire. They couldn't afford to set a stuntman ablaze like they did in Puppetmaster 2, so it's a little bit disappointing that. Now, weirdly, here's my Puppetmaster 5 Blu-ray box. There's no Torch on the picture here, even though he's in the film. Now, if we look at the Puppetmaster 4 box, Torch is actually on the front cover of this, but he's not in Puppetmaster 4. Have you ever seen anything as weird as that? This is a really good release from 88 Films. They did the first 5 of the Puppetmaster films. I think I've got all 5 of these, but I think this is the last time they've done one. So I think if I'm going to carry on with these reviews, I'm going to have to get like various lesser quality DVDs and Blu-rays from various other companies who have, you know, released these films on home video and stuff. But this is a good release, even though the film's not that good. The Blu-ray's decent, the features are decent. It's got a commentary by Jeff Burr. Now, I enjoyed Jeff Burr's commentary on Puppetmaster 4 because I enjoyed that film. I can't say I particularly have much desire to watch Burr's commentary of this film. There is a documentary which apparently covers 4 and 5. I guess that could be quite interesting. I don't remember any such documentary like that being on the Puppetmaster 4 Blu-ray. In fact, let me just check, because I've got it right here, you know. No, there isn't. So that could be potentially quite good. There's also something called the Full-Length Video Zone with Charles Band. I don't know what that is. So it's a decent release in terms of features, and the film certainly looks good when you're watching it in terms of picture quality and stuff. It's just a shame that the actual movie is just not very good. It's much less than Puppetmaster 4. But let's see how it all translates into a score. Not much in here. Just the 1 bloody axe out of 5, so that is half an axe for Decapitron's new helmet, and another half an axe for the pink sunglasses which go on said helmet, all adding up to 1 bloody axe out of 5, and that makes it, for me, the lowest rated Puppetmaster film of the series so far. This one sadly stinks to high heaven. But I will be back for the 6th Puppetmaster film, which is called The Curse of the Puppetmaster. So until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.